Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening to another episode of the Law Firms of the Future. I'm thrilled to welcome Colin Levy to today's show. Colin is a forward-thinking innovator and prolific thought leader in the legal industry. He's worked for a number of different companies, including a legal startup and several multinational corporations. His career has been focused on practicing where business, technology, and the law meet. You can follow Colin on LinkedIn and on Twitter at clevy_law. I also highly recommend that you check out his website, colinslevy.com. So welcome to the show, Colin.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great to have you here. So I'd love to hear a bit more about your background and how you became involved in the world of legal innovation.
Sure. So I kind of came about it, I guess, in somewhat of a circuitous manner. I started writing just simply about my experience as a in-house attorney, and wanted to kind of just share some lessons I learned and what I thought it meant to work in-house. And then I started learning a bit more about how technology was playing a bigger and bigger role in how people provided legal services and how technology could help people access legal services, and how innovation was being deployed in a variety of ways within the legal field. And I learned about this through speaking with folks who were actually doing this type of work. And I started writing about what I was learning from those conversations, and also started posting interviews of folks that I was interested in speaking with. And that generally kind of developed into this real passion that I've now have and have developed for legal technology and legal innovation. And how I see both really playing a vital role in making the legal profession more client-focused, more forward-thinking, and more accessible to those who need the help of the legal system.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack in what you've just said. So I think what I'd like to start with is going back to your experience working in-house and what you've really seen from the law firms that you've worked with, and some of the most common mistakes that you've seen lawyers within law firms make when addressing their general counsel.
Yeah, so I think one of probably the biggest mistakes I see outside law firms making is not spending enough time getting to know the businesses of their clients, not spending enough time getting to know what makes their businesses flow, what can be problems in their businesses, what the business client's approaches to their businesses are. I think that kind of sort of relationship building work is really important for a variety of reasons. Perhaps most importantly, in terms of knowing how best to provide help and be a business partner or resource for that particular client. I see a lot of firms who kind of are focused more on the traditional client has a legal question, let's provide a legal answer. And I really think that is a fairly narrow way to approach the relationship between a law firm and a in-house client. And I really see it more as a relationship of two business partners seeking to help and support and grow with each other.
That's interesting. So do you think that it's a training issue with a lot of lawyers, that they're trained to provide advice rather than kind of solve challenges more holistically? Or what do you think is the root of that common mistake?
So I think there's a number of different potential causes for why that is. One certainly is from training and kind of the focus on legal questions, get legal answers. I also think it stems from the both physical and other separation between the law firms and the businesses, in terms of law firms having a number of clients. They're not closely integrated into the businesses that they represent. And as a result, they don't have as much insight as they otherwise might have into the business operations as someone who works on in-house might have. And as I mentioned at the outset when I was talking about the problem of not understanding the business, I think that the way to solve that is to understand the business. So there's that. I also think another cause is frankly just the fact that law firms, um, they need to balance the demands of a number of different clients, and those demands often are time consuming. And so lawyers working for firms have to balance the various time consuming needs of their clients, and oftentimes that results in not spending as much time as their lawyers might spend with a particular client. I'm not saying that that happens always, but that is certainly something that has the potential to occur.
So in terms of lawyers and learning more about the businesses with which they work, so how could a lawyer, especially a young lawyer working with a large company, let's say, how should that person go about educating him or herself on the way that this business runs?
So, if, I would do the following. Number one, I would, when you first start with a company, speak with some of the key leaders of the key functions, such as sales, such as product development, such as IT, marketing, and understand kind of what they do, why they do what they do, and what some of their pain points are, and allow them to tell you kind of more about the company, and truly listen to them, meaning that don't just kind of wait until you have an opening to respond, but really just sit there and listen and take notes on what they have to say about the business, about themselves, and their approaches to their work. And taking that knowledge can then inform you on how best to work with these different functions, and how best to go ahead and build relationships with these individuals, and build support internally for your function from these folks. Because I think that the way you get that support is through relationship building and really getting to know these individuals, their functions, and how they operate and what their pain points are.
Absolutely. So what would you like to see more of from law firms when you work with them, apart from a greater understanding of your businesses? What makes you say when you meet a lawyer that this is a great lawyer that you would want to hire?
So I would look at it through not the lens of necessarily just this is a great lawyer and I want to work with them, but more of this is a firm that gets it. This is a firm that understands the roles of technology and innovation within the greater world of the legal profession, and they can provide holistic services that can provide not just legal advice, but really business advice, and be a business partner for my business, and really provide a wealth of services, including services that traditional law firms may not have necessarily been providing through either technology-based services or through innovation-based services. And I think that would be the type of firm I would be attracted to and want to work with, because they're ones that are open to experimentation. They're open to learning about different areas. They're open to listening to their clients and letting their clients play a role in informing how law firms provide services to them. That would be the type of firm and the type of lawyers that I would be attracted to.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. So what do you think law firms need to change structurally in order to achieve that? Or is there anything that they need to change structurally?
Well, that's kind of a big question. I think that law firms um, should open their eyes to the concepts of innovation, of process improvement, of technology. They should understand the idea that they can learn new things, and that they have a lot that they can learn from their clients that they represent. I also think that, kind of more structurally speaking, I think that their financial models, most often based on the billable hour model, are not necessarily the most client-friendly model. And I think that being open to providing services on either a project or a flat fee basis would perhaps generate greater interest and more business potentially from clients. I also think providing greater transparency into how they work and the ways in which they provide their services to clients would also help make that client law firm relationship a more authentic one, and one that's more coherent and transparent and open, and more easily understood by both parties.
Got it. Yeah, I think those are all really important points. And basically, it seems like what you're alluding to is kind of delivering a client-centric service as opposed to sort of a lawyer-centric service. Would you say that's kind of an accurate summary?
Absolutely. I think for far too long, the legal industry has been focused on the lawyers and not focused on the clients. And really what has driven me, and I think what has driven some law firms and in-house departments and other lawyers, has been this sort of change in thinking, and more thinking about, all right, we're a service delivery industry. Let's actually focus on providing good service to those that are paying us to provide those services, which are the clients, rather than focusing on how great each of us are as attorneys.
Absolutely. Yeah. So also, you're somewhat of, I would say, an influencer in the legal tech world. You have a really big following both on Twitter and on LinkedIn. And I'd like to hear more about what you see the role of social media playing in the legal innovation landscape.
So my view of sort of social media when it comes to the legal landscape really is as one set of tools to help educate and inform others about what exists out there, about common mistakes that can be made by those who may not be as well informed, and what I see is some of the myths and perhaps misnomers that exist in the legal world as they both pertain to legal technology and legal innovation. So I really see my role within the social media world as one of informing and educating. I'm not really seeking to try to push folks to take one specific approach or another, or more about trying to simply educate and inform about what is out there and help provide a base of knowledge from which to make various decisions.
I'm curious to hear about who you would recommend following on Twitter and on LinkedIn for people who are looking to learn more about the space.
Oh, there's so many folks. Some that I would suggest would be Ivy Gray. She's a great legal tech guru. Another one would be Michelle DeStefano. She is a really high-powered and very passionate advocate of innovation and legal technology, specifically with regards to legal education. I also would suggest Mark A. Colin. He's certainly been a driving force in informing and influencing. I would also suggest Dennis Kennedy and Bob Ambrogi. Those are some other folks. I think, there's just so many folks out there. And probably another that I would mention would be with regards to process improvement specifically, and sort of innovation through a process approach would be Catherine McDonough.
Got it. That's a nice list. So definitely recommend all of you listeners to go out and follow all of those individuals, and also just see who they're interacting with to develop your own kind of personal ecosystem.
That's definitely not a cohesive or comprehensive list. So I just named a few names that came to mind, but by no means am I suggesting that those people are the only people you should be listening to, nor am I seeking to endorse anyone. I'm just providing some folks who I think have been providing some useful information out there.
No, of course. And I think it's a starting point. The question's intending to be a starting point. So no worries. I think one nice thing about Twitter is just the ways in which you can track interactions between different accounts and different people. So you can find one person and, end up in a rabbit hole a positive rabbit hole of, 10 different people's insights.
Oh, absolutely. That happens to me all the time. You end up in a rabbit hole, not just of people, but of concepts, of materials. It's really actually quite amazing what you can find out there, and how much you can be informed and how much time you can spend. In some ways it's a little bit addictive, but I would say in a good way, in the sense that you find yourself wanting to learn one thing and then you end up learning another thing and another thing, and it just keeps going.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's definitely a lot to learn from the insights of other people. And yeah, it's definitely a whole world of knowledge out there. So I'd love to hear some advice that you would give to law students and young lawyers to succeed in today's rapidly changing environment.
So I would suggest to young lawyers that they should be seeking to take a lot of practical skills-based courses within their law schools. I would also suggest that they seek to learn about what technology exists out there that can help them with various parts of their jobs, whether it's document automation or litigation prediction or contract reviewing. I also would advise law students to not be, and young lawyers to not be afraid to reach out and connect with other people and really seek to develop relationships with other people who they can learn from. I think that they'll find that the community that exists out there is more than willing to help provide advice, guidance, information. I being one of those people, and it thrills me when I'm given the opportunity to be able to provide that kind of assistance to budding lawyers who are seeking to really make a mark on the profession and be the type of lawyer that the profession needs more than ever.
I think that's great. And especially that's something I do want to call out about the legal industry, that there's definitely a really strong feeling of camaraderie and mentorship from what I've seen, and a willingness to mentor others. I've worked in a few different industries, and this one, I've just found people to be super, super helpful and willing to engage, and not just willing, but like wanting to engage on a deeper level. So it's kind of a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah, it's a terrific thing, and I think it's I think the more people that can be a part of it, the better off I think we all will be, and the stronger as a community we will be as well.
My last question, and my question for all of the guests on this podcast is, it goes back to the name of the podcast, and that's your vision for the law firms of the future.
So that's a very big question, and more than probably I can adequately answer on a podcast episode. But what I would say is that I would really foresee a law firm that provides holistic business services to clients, meaning that they don't just provide legal advice per se to legal questions that are asked, but really seek to provide a holistic range of services from transaction management to litigation prediction to data analytics to e-discovery to really kind of business formation, all of those services kind of under the same umbrella. And also, in addition to those things, a firm that really is focused on building relationships, close working relationships with their clients, and seeking to really be a long-term business partner for those clients, rather than seeking simply to be a resource of legal information. So that would be how I would envision a law firm of the future in its essence.
Got it. I think that sounds great, and I'm looking forward to seeing that evolve in the coming years.
I hope it does, but I, along with others, are trying our best to help make that a reality.
Great. So thank you again for joining me today. And again, if you missed this at the beginning, you can follow Colin on LinkedIn, on Twitter at @CLevy_law, or check out his website at colinslevy.com.
Thanks very much.